Alright, you duelist enthusiasts and card flopping gurus, welcome back to the kingdom. I am once again your Cicerone, King Shy, and today we have a fresh deck profile for Clown Crew Mitsurugi. Now, this is a deck that is actually one of my personal favorites, guys. When Mitsurugi first came out, it was a TCG exclusive. You know, we all know the age-old story. Usually for TCG exclusives, we kind of get garbage, but lately they've been kind of stepping things up. I'm not gonna hold you. So with this deck in particular, once the Clown Crew stuff got released over here in the US, had to definitely make sure I was putting things together there. We did get stuff that did just come out of Chaos Origins to help the deck as well. So this is the updated version that I've been waiting to show you guys. So we're not gonna wait here, guys. We're gonna go ahead and dive into it here, and we are going to start with 3 copies for the Clown Crew side of the boss Bianca Vissel. Notice once again, guys, the mat there. You gotta show the mat. The mat's a thing. It's part of the whole, shebang we got going on here. We came Clown Crew ready, and definitely starting with Bianca Vissel. Boss here, gonna be the card that's gonna really be a lot of disruption for your opponent. Gonna get your cards. You're gonna draw on their turn. It's just plus all the way around with this card there. And we're going to go ahead and get into gameplay with this here later, guys, too. So definitely stay tuned for that. But definitely starting with 3 copies of those, and we'll move right along here. Next up, it's going to be 3 copies of Clown Crew Flare. Now, Flare is your combo starter. It's going to be a card you're definitely going to want to either deter your opponent from things or to kind of get their attention off of anything else you might have in your hand that's also a starter there. Once again, if you don't know already, if it's first time here, first off, welcome. But we're a channel here where we definitely are pushing more for consistency when it comes to the decks that we set up. So with the 3 Flare there, it's going to be that deterrent card. It's going to be that starter if it goes off. You guys will also see there later in the video when we set up the combos for the different things that it can do. But Flare, just like all the Clown Crew stuff, if you don't know how the Clown Crew works, is each one of these specialty monsters, i.e. Ritual, Link, Synchro, Xyz, etc., they all have a secondary effect, and Bianca Vissel too, but Bianca Vissel's effect is either going to get you the draw or it's going to negate things for your opponent, on top of the fact that on their turn, it's going to go ahead and let you tribute off one of your other monsters or a few of your monsters if you have enough. But for Flare, Flare is either going to set you up with a Book of Moon effect or be able to bounce all rituals. And with the stuff that has just recently got announced, guys, this is going to be a big card coming up later formats. But for now, it's really just going to kind of bother other ritual setups there. And that's really what the deck is really designed to do. It's really designed to mess around with what your opponent's strategy is while furthering your own, along with drawing cards, of course. But Flare is going to go ahead and help that strategy along there. So we'll just continue on to the Mitsurugi side of things. And we'll start with the Mitsurugi boss himself, Murakumo. Now, Murakumo, it's just a terrifying card. Yeah, it's that card that when a lot of people see it, they just know, they hone in on that, like, all right, I have to deal with it. There's no option. There's no if, ands, buts, or maybes. They have to deal with Murakumo. And, even if that means just paying the Murakumo tax, like, you got to do it. You got to pay the toll. So, yeah, Murakumo at 2s, and yes, we have the specialty version there, but we'll move right along here. The next one up, of course, gonna be the Matama Futsu. Now, Futsu is the sleeper to me. Futsu is that one that a lot of people don't think about twice because they're like, oh, it's just Futsu. It's just Futsu. What's it gonna do? Futsu will win you games. Full stop. Futsu will win you games. And the reason is because whenever your opponent special summons, period, you get one back from the grave. So it turns into a harder card to deal with because you can bring back the smaller ones and keep the Futsu protected, or you can bring back the Murakumo and do disruption. You can bring back the Habakiri also and do disruption. So Murakumo, Habakiri gonna be disruption. The smaller ones are gonna be protection. So Futsu to me is honestly, and a lot of people might disagree with this, but Futsu is kind of the heart. It's kind of the heart of the deck. But just because it's the heart of the deck doesn't mean it's not the artery. So the arteries, the brain, the pretty much everything else that the deck is going to want to do, all roads lead to and come from Habakiri. We all know this. This is not news. It's not news, but it's news because although Habakiri itself did get limited to 1, and RIP, because it honestly might end up getting banned. It's still a card that people have called to get banned for a very long time, but as of right now, we still have the one, and in this deck in particular, it feels like you run like 12. It's crazy. So Habakiri is your combo starter. It's the card you want to get to at the beginning of your first turn. It's a card you want to have at the beginning of your first turn because it's a card that's forced to be interacted with. Your opponent has to do something. And if they let the Habakiri walk, and I've seen this happen multiple times, guys, where they say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to negate the Habakiri. I'll wait to see what my opponent gets, and then I'll negate the ritual spell, or I'll negate whatever the other card is they bring out. Problem is by that time, it might be too late, you know, but it's one of those cards where even if it's just negated and it's back in your hand, you also just pulled a resource from your opponent's board and or from their hand, which also then puts you in a better position because now you have card advantage or board advantage, meaning that if it was a negate they had on the board, now they have one less negate for you to deal with. With Habakiri being one of the starters for the deck, that would suck if it is your only starter in your hand, but the way this deck is designed, like I said before, we're here for consistency. So let's go ahead and continue on with the lineup. We have 2 Aramasa, just another Habakiri, essentially. It really feels like you run 12, especially with the stuff that came out in Chaos Origin. It really does just add to it, but just once again, very staple here. You're going to have 2 Aramasa there in the deck. Then you're going to have the 1 Soul Saji. Now, I used to run multiple Saji because to me, the ritual spell was more important than getting to the Habakiri. And if Habakiri, we're going to say if Habakiri does get banned, then we will end up moving back to more Saji. But for now, it's just the 1. And the Saji there meant to get you the ritual spell. It's meant to get you prayers, you know, things of that nature. So, of course, you run the 1. Lastly, second to lastly, because we are going to have the Honorary Mitsurugi card as well, but we do have the Kusanagi. Now, the Kusanagi is going to be your recycler. You really do need it there, even just at the 1. You really don't need more than 1, to be honest, because if you have more than 1, it does tend to clutter. So this card is going to be one of your main cards that is in the later game going to be a lot stronger because of how much it's going to help you recycle. So definitely use one of those. And then we get to the Honorary Mitsurugi card here. It's going to be the Night Sword Serpent. Just once again, staple setup for how the actual Mitsurugi lineup is going to be. So if you've seen other Mitsurugi decks that have similar lineups, that is because this feels like the most optimized. But there are little tweaks here and there that I have seen other decks do. But for the Clown Crew lineup for this deck, this has been the most optimal for me. Now we're going to get to a couple of the hand traps here. We're going to start off with the best hand trap to me that exists, even though it's still at 1, and that's gonna be Shapeshifter himself, aka Dimensional Shifter, aka Snap, aka Spirit Bomb Holder. Like, it's just whatever you want to call it. It is just the card that, in my opinion, is probably the best hand trap in the meta. Now, like I said before, we are moving away from hand trap meta, which is funny to say because with the WCQ that just recently happened, there were cool tune everywhere, partly because Rotary's probably gonna go to 1. So with that information, a lot of people were just kind of giving it one last hurrah because it's already happened in Japan. It already happened on Master Duel. It's likely gonna happen here with us too. But this is a card that against the right deck is an automatic pass their turn, depending on what you're going in. So there is definitely that synergy with this card when it comes to what this deck does. Moving right along here, the next hand trap, you guys know her, you guys love her, we all do. It is the Ash of Blossoms there. Now, you guys know I get emotional with this card every single time. I'm not going to get into it this video, but just staple of staples. She's the card that people still talk about to this day. Everybody generally has her. Some people have now traded her out more so for Droll, which we do have Droll on the side, but that's only because of what the meta is right now and kind of what we've seen. But we won't spend too much time on Ash. We know Ash is great. Ash. But moving on for the last card of the monster setup, that is going to be the Vanity's Ruler. Now, Vanity's Ruler, it's so good. I'm speechless. It's so good. One eye had to close just to tell you how good it was. I cannot tell you how many games I have dropped this on my opponent's turn mid-combo with Bianca Bissell effect, and they just look at it and scream scoop. It might as well just be written scoop on there because, or ice cream. We'll call it ice cream. It's the ice cream man because it's gonna scoop. Like, because it's so good. It's so good. Just because of where we are with the game, where everyone special summons a bajillion times in order for their combo to even start. Right? Where if you just start with this and they don't have an immediate answer, you win. It's crazy. I used to use Vanity's Fiend a lot because it was a one sack, right? And at the time it was a side card or what have you. And even with those games, I would run into those issues where it's the only card I have left on the board, and then my opponent goes, I am permanent. I'm like, oh, well, I lose. But with this, it happens mid-combo on my opponent's turn, and they have no answers. Yeah, that's a W. That's a W. So yes, if you don't have one of these, go get one of these. Even if it's not for this deck. There's certain cards you should just have as a thing for a just in case. For a rainy day. Is it raining outside? Well, then go and get your Vanity's Ruler. It's that simple. Like, this is what we need. So that's going to be it for the monsters. Now we're going to dive into the spells, and we're going to start with a new card that did come out in Chaos Origins, and we're running this in trips, guys. This is the Ragged Records of Rights. RRR for short. Now, this card might as well just have Habakiri written on it, because you draw into this and you're searching out the Habakiri. So how it works is it allows you to search your deck for a ritual spell that a ritual monster has written in its text. And then you add the ritual monster to your hand. And it's not just your deck. So unlike pre-prep, where pre-prep says, hey, you search for the ritual spell and the ritual monster, add it to your hand, you can have the ritual spell in your hand and then be able to still get the search off. So you can legit go, oh, I only want one copy of Mitsurugi Rituals. So, I mean, if I draw into it, then these become useless. No, these still are live. These are live. So you can still go, oh, I have the ritual in hand. Well, let me activate the Ragged Record anyway, just to get the Habakiri to hand now. This card right here is why I said it feels like you run 12 Habakiris in this deck. Because in multiple ways and multiple setups, you're able to get to Habakiri because all roads lead there. It might as well be a very bustling city in a very rural area because all roads lead there. It is crazy. Ragged Record, fantastic, great addition to the deck. Something I actually was waiting for to come out, and now I'm excited that it did. So definitely 3 copies of that. Then we're going to go ahead and show off the next card here. You heard me talk about it there, the pre-prep. So pre-prep is just a staple for anything you're running ritual-wise. Gonna be that card that gets you 2 cards for 1, so it's a free +1. Why wouldn't you run that? I only run the 1 because the Ragged Records is just that much better because of just how versatile it is. If I already have Ritual in hand, I can still use Ragged Records, so pre-prep at 1 there. And then we're going to continue on with more Mitsurugi goodness, and that's going to be with the trip copies of the Mitsurugi Prayers. Now, Prayers is, there aren't enough words to express how good Prayers is. Prayers will save you game and game again. Prayers will start you game and game again. Prayers will be that card your opponent is forced to interact with game and game again, and then allow you to go ahead and continue to just do things. So Prayers, it's so great because it's going to help you dodge Droll, because you can do a draw phase. Still get your Habakiri off. So after you do the Habakiri effect, then they Droll. And you're like, all right, well, now I already got Ritual to hand, so it doesn't really matter because Murakumo's going to come out. Droll is a card that is really annoying for this deck, but Prayers makes it just so great to dodge around. So Prayers at 3, hands down, it's Mitsurugi, it's plus. So yes, Prayers at 3, enough said. So then we get on to the last 2 Mitsurugi cards, and that's going to be last 2 Mitsurugi spells. And that's going to be Mitsurugi, Ritual, and Mirror. So these are the 2 ritual cards you are going to need. Of course, you can't run the deck without them, to be honest. It's a ritual deck. That's it. So yeah, like, you need this. Now, what's really good though is that for pre-prep, you can use the Mirror and get the Mirror. For Ragged Records, you use the Ritual. So you have versatility between the 2. And then of course with Mirror, you have the Mirror loop plays that'll really let you continue to search the Mirror out after it's been used and pitch it for various things and reasons in order to be able to continuously use the ritual monsters and graves effects. So there's lots of little things and cool stuff that these can do, but Mirror is more for mid game and Ritual is more for early game. So I like how the deck kind of ebbs and flows into a different state depending on where the deck is, and you're going to draw so many cards with this deck, guys. It's honestly insane. It's mind-boggling how many cards you're going to end up with on the end of your turn and even on the end of your opponent's turn as well. It's just so good. But yes, those two definitely, of course. So then we'll just continue on here. We'll get back to the Clown Crew side of things, and that's going to be with 3 copies of Clown Crew Rehearsal. Now, Rehearsal is another starter there. It's going to be the card you're going to likely search with Flair if you don't have it in hand. And it's also great because it synergizes with the Mitsurugi side of things by allowing you to tribute a monster from your hand. So it is another way for you to be able to extend a combo, or let's say the Habakiri got ashed. It still allows you to be able to tribute the Habakiri from hand so that you can also get another card from the deck to be able to continue to combo off that way. So there's lots of things that this can really do for the deck here. And it also is great because let's say you started off with Murakumo in hand or with Futsu in hand. Rehearsal is going to be that card that also gets you to the Habakiri to then let that combo continue off as well. So great synergy across both decks there. And the Clown Crew stuff also likes to be attributed, guys. So that's why we're here. And here's the thing now is we're just going to continue on with the next card here, and that's going to be with 2 copies of Malabrisme. Now, Clown Crew Malabrisme, it was a card that I actually did run 3 of previously, and I found it cluttering a little because you can only activate it once per turn. And even though it is a quick play, there is another version of this I was considering that did also run the Radiant Typhoon draw card. That would be more useful for having 3, but in this case here, having the 2 really allows it to really shine and it really sits well in a good spot. So for me, 2 seemed to work, so that's what I'm sticking with. Then we got the 1 copy here of Matinee Operatics. Now, when the Clown Crew stuff did first come out, guys, I tested around a lot of different numbers to try to get things into a right spot, and Matinee was the last card I had it to that I ended up bringing down to 1. Reason I brought it down to 1, even though 2 felt really, really nice. However, when Ragged Records came out, there were cards that just had to get cut from the deck, and unfortunately that was one of them because, like I said before, having 12 Habakiri in the deck feels really good. So that was one of the cards that unfortunately was on the chopping block. However, even at 1, the card is fantastic. This is probably one of the sleeper cards of the entire Clown Crew archetype, in my opinion, because it allows for you to set up a Bianca Visso if you need to. It gets you free draws, even if you're not running Clown Crew cards, as long as you tributed specialty monsters. So it really is a nice card to run. And on top of that, during your end phase, it gets you draws, and then it allows you to also set right away a spell trap. So let's say you drew into a quick play that you wish you had earlier in the turn, or a trap that you wish you had earlier in the turn, you're able to set it right away. So definitely the 1 Operatics there. And we're going to move on to the Stoplies, or Staples, as people like to call them. But we're going to start with, of course, you know it, you love it, you already know what we're about to say, but we'll say it anyway. This is the kingdom, and we're crowning, folks. This is the Forbidden of Crowns. I can't fathom, guys, how there are so many top decks out there that are not running this card. There's a reason why this card is so expensive. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I get it. I understand the side of the argument that says, hey, I don't feel like I need that card, or I don't feel like that card... I can't even finish that sentence. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get it. If somebody could explain it to me, that'd be fantastic, but it's won me way more games than it's lost me. I can honestly count on probably on one hand the games where I feel like I've lost, and it wasn't due to the crown. It was just due to the fact that either the person out-resourced me, which is very difficult with this deck, by the way, or, I drew dead and I happen to have the crown, stuff like that. But it's not a card that feels like a win more card. It's definitely an equalizer. It's definitely a card that's going to annoy your opponent. They're like, oh, well, I'm not sure what to do now because this thing I was expected to either get rid of or deal with is still here and I can't do anything with it. Having crown is, yes, 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 yes. If you can get 3, get 3. If not, I've seen people run imperm as a thing instead, which of course imperm's a lot easier to get to now than it has been. But crown is just, there is no comparison to me. It's just, crown is great. And actually, let me say this too. I have seen people, instead of using crown, they'll use the Fallen and Virtuous. Different playstyle setup, but ultimately attempting to accomplish the same thing. An argument I can empathize with, shrug, but crown to me is just, it's just too good. It's too good. It's too good. But moving right along here, we'll continue. We have the original preparation of rights. Prep rights gonna be like the 4th flare of the deck, so it's gonna search out the flare for you and add that to your hand to go ahead and combo start. So enough said really with that. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward there. So we'll go ahead and continue after that. Now this is one card that I was trying out and I'm still a little bit on the fence with, but it seems to work well with this deck, and that's gonna be Spell Card Soul Exchange. It is a board breaker, guys. This is a board breaker, so keep that in mind. But used incorrectly, it can definitely be not devastating, but annoying. So Spellcard Soul Exchange is a card I wasn't expecting to actually like, but I tried it out and it's actually pretty decent. I would say definitely test it out and see what you think about it there, but definitely a great card here if you got one. Then, of course, we have the Called by the Grave. Enough said, it's going to allow you to just continue your turn however you want to. Your opponent can't stop you. They're going to attempt to draw, you're going to say no. They're going to attempt to act, you're going to say no. They're going to try to ghost spell, you're going to say no. They're going to try to insert random graveyard card here. No, not happening. But anyway, so moving right along here, we got Regeki as well, and we all know it, we all love it. We, like I said before, board breaking meta, so we're gonna actually show off both board breakers here. So it's gonna be the Regeki, gonna be the Illusion Gate. Those are the staples here. They're staples. Once again, we don't argue with staples, we just play staples. They keep the deck together and they keep you winning. So yes, both are going to clear your opponent's monsters, but one's going to cost some life points, but get you another monster back. So there you go. But definitely those two, Regeki and Illusion Gate, fantastic cards there. And actually, guys, I didn't know Illusion Gate is apparently going up in price. Shrug? Yeah, that's a thing, I suppose. But yes, if you can't get Illusion Gate, just get 2 Regekis. There you go. It's good. But continuing on here with the last Mitsurugi card in the main, and that's going to be the Great Purification. Great Purification, generally going to be the last card you're going to search with the Mitsurugi cards for your turn. Pretty much your Omni Negate for whatever Murakumo tax doesn't take care of. The Murakumo tax is just so oppressive to me because there's a reason why going second you draw an extra card, because your opponent had the opportunity to go first and has essentially set up a board. So when you take something like the Murakumo tax that says when you activate something you pay for it by pitching a card, they just went from 6 to 5. Well, okay, if that card also said you had to pay another cost to also activate it, they went from actually 6 to 4. I'm no math whiz, but losing cards in a game where card advantage is a big deal, pretty devastating. And you also have the fact that it tributes off a monster, so there's going to be that too, but definitely the one Great Purification there. And then for the Clown Crew stuff, you're going to have Clown Crew New Face and Clown Crew Soiree Operations. Now, New Face going to be generally the card that you're going to search on your turn and be able to use it on your opponents. Like I said, you're drawing on both turns there, and that's going to be one of the cards that helps you do so. And for Soiree Operations, it's going to be that card that, and for whatever reason you didn't get Bianca Vissel on your turn, it's going to be a thing that helps you get it on your opponent's turn. So great setup here, guys. We're going to go ahead and dive into the extra deck here next. For the extra, we're going to start with the Clown Crew stuff, and it's going to be 2 copies of Clown Crew Meteor. Now, Meteor gonna be that recycler. It's gonna be that synchro sweeper, we'll call it, right? Because that's what they do. They sweep. They don't vanish. They don't target. They don't destroy. They just sleep. Everything goes back to the extra from grave and board. Meteor is going to be the card that you are going to run into for now. I think the Clown Crew stuff regarding the extras is a little interchangeable depending on what your meta looks like at home. So keep that in mind when it comes to this. But for where I'm at, definitely 2 Meteor. Then we have one of the cards that came out in Chaos Origin. That's going to be my girl, Dristy. Now, Dristy, so good. This is the card I was waiting for with Chaos Origin there. She's so disruptive. There's so many Link decks around and so many Link cards that are a thing that she just helps sweep all of those back, on top of the fact that she is going to shuffle back your opponent's hand and your own, of course, but shuffling back your opponent's hand on their turn mid-combo when they're searching for different pieces to set up for is so good. Yes, they finally get to draw new cards, but she's just good in that aspect. She can be a double-edged sword, so you want to wait to use her until your opponent is searching for something, because then that's when she's going to be the most optimal. But she still is great, especially if you yourself don't have a great hand and you can get to her. Fantastic to just go ahead and just hit a reset button. So she's fantastic for that. Then we, of course, we have the 2 copies of Clown Crew Fiends. Now, Fiends is gonna be one of your starters as well, generally. If you don't have Operatics already in hand or haven't gotten it previously with either Flare or Rehearsal, then this is gonna be the card that helps you get there. It also sets up for the next turn too for setting down a Malabrisme or grab Rehearsal as well. So Fiends is just fantastic, on top of the fact that you have the added ability, of course, to bounce back all Xyz. We're just doing the sweeper. Sweep it up. So yes. Fiends, of course, in 2s. And then we got the 1 Diablo. So once again, just regarding the numbers for the ones that I run, it really does kind of boil down to what I see. And haven't really run into too many fusion things. What I will say is that this is also why side decks are a thing. You can also side deck extra deck monsters. So that's a thing that I've also seen other people try to do lately. I've tried it too for a couple different things, but I try to keep a lot of my stuff in the actual extra if I can. But with Diablo itself, it's going to be your main starter for getting either New Face or Soiree. New Face being the optimal one you want to grab. If you already have New Face in hand, then you can grab the Soiree. If you already have both of those for whatever reason, you don't go into this. So it's a great card overall. And each one of these also already has a main monster effect as well, aside from the 2 others that have to do with the tribute summon monsters. So they also help out Bianca Visso, or they help out your Vanity's Ruler. So these are gonna be the cards that kind of help enhance any tribute summon monsters that you bring out. So, if you can also run this with Monarch, you can try. I have thought about it, and the Mitsurugi one just enticed me more just because there was a lot more things I could do with it. But I definitely would say that that's another option. You can go with this deck as well. Then we'll go ahead and get to a couple of the staples here. So we're gonna have the Little Knight. We're gonna have the Typhon. Those are just the staples. We all know this. We all love staples. Once again, we don't argue with staples. They're just staples. That's just is what it is. So, yep, you definitely have those for any sort of utility. What is nice about being specific to this deck, there are some cards you can also use that don't generally get play. So, one of those being the Ashlyn U1000. So, Ashlyn is a card that can also work with what the Clown Crew does. Now, the general effects of the Clown Crew stuff don't allow you to use any monster effects that were special summoned from either the extra or the main deck during the first 2 turns that they hit the board. That can be very detrimental, especially if you're using the ritual to bring out one of the ones from the deck. So what I tend to say is that since you are going to use ritual's effect, you want to make sure that you do tribute that monster that you brought out from the main deck to bring it back from the graveyard so its effect can be live, because that will get you stuck if you're not paying attention. So Ashlyn is a great card because it doesn't really run into that issue because its effect is continuous. You don't have to actually activate it. What is nice is the Clown Crew stuff is worded specifically so that they don't negate the monster effect. It says you cannot activate a monster effect that was special summoned from the main or extra. So allows you to be able to use a card like Ashlyn or even a card like my other favorite,
Ziliphonia,
without actually having to worry about, I can't activate this effect. So definitely, little wordy things there, but cards like the Ziliphonia, cards like the Ashen, they're great for making sure that you have that setup still. Even if you're midway through a Clown Crew combo or you've reached the end of one, it still allows you to use these monsters there to be able to get their effects and lock your opponent out of things or extend. So fantastic additions there. If you didn't know about Ziliphonia, you should absolutely learn about Ziliphonia, but I'll give you some tidbits of knowledge. Essentially, your opponent can't use the 3 monster spaces that will put in front of it. They can still summon there. The problem is that the monster effects are going to be negated and a monster can attack. So it basically sets it up so that it blocks your opponent's extender areas, keeps them from being able to use those monster zone slots, on top of the fact that if something isn't in front of it, your opponent also can't run it over. So they can still do damage to you, so keep that in mind with Zildonia. So it's a little bit of a skill-intensive card, but still great to use, and I definitely do recommend people trying this card out if they haven't. Great card. And it's also started to creep up in price, so it's definitely saying that people are starting to see its value, so there's that. Then we, of course, are going to move to the Xyz monsters. So we have another honorary Mitsurugi card, and that's going to be Zombie Vampire. Fantastic for setting up on your first turn to be able to dig through for certain things you're looking for. Also sets up with a Murakumo Engraved to come back to Regeki your opponent's board. So there's a lot of different things this card does, on top of the fact that you can use your opponent's monsters as well to make it. So still very much zombie themed. If you haven't caught my zombie video, make sure you check that out as well, but we're not going to get into that here. We're going to go ahead and continue on with the Xyz monsters here. So this is a new one that also came out in Chaos Origins, and that's going to be Mortellix. Now Mortellix is, am I saying that right? Mortellix? I think I said that right. Mortellix? Yes. Mortellix. Yes. Anyway, so Mortellix is that card that's going to get around a lot of the things that are kind of happening in the meta right now, where it's a lot of targeting for destruction, a lot of targeting to bounce and things of that nature. Your opponent's going through and sending cards from their extra deck to grave to pop things. This card really does just get in between that niche and snatch things back from grave, puts it under it, and then it gains extra effects from there. So first effect, of course, going to be can't be destroyed by battle card effect. Second effect, can't be targeted by any of your opponent's card effects. And the third effect, of course, when it has 4 materials or more, you can detach 3 and be able to non-targeting send a monster to grave. So it's a really difficult card to deal with for a lot of decks, and it's really, really impressive. I've been trying it out and it's been working well for me. I definitely do implore you guys, try this card out if you haven't already. This card is great, especially because it's also an 8, so it works synergistically with Murakumo and the rest of the Mitsurugi lineup. So moving on here to the fusions. So the last 3 cards are going to be my super poly targets. They're going to be Garura, that's going to be Mud Dragon of the Swamp, and then last, of course, is going to be Theseus. Now, these 3 cards are really, really strong for when I go second as a board breaker setup. Here's one thing that's really nice also about Clown Crew that a lot of people don't realize is that Diablo can double as a super poly target, because Diablo has the same requirements as Mud Dragon. So that really allows you to be able to have more versatility when it comes to being able to use Super Poly in a setup like this. And it really just further lends itself as to why everything in this deck is set up the way it is. So that's going to do it here for the profile, guys. What we're going to do next is we're going to dive into some gameplay with the deck here, just to give you guys an idea of how the different hands look, how the different combos go, and the different 1-card starters. You guys are going to see what I mean when I say that it really does feel like there are like 12 Habakiri in the deck, but no spoilers for this here. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and doodle down in the comments down below. But we'll go ahead and get into it here and let me know what you think. Combo boy. Nope.
Let's go!
Yo!
Let's go! Let's go! Nope.
It has been a pleasure here, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I am once again your Cicerone, King Shy, and I'll catch you in the next one.